She's an award-winning writer, a hunting guide, archery and rifle instructor, keynote speaker, and all-around outdoors woman who encourages you to get outside, hunt, fish, shoot, and savor all that life has to offer. And now, here's your host, Mia Anstine.
Hey, hi, hello. I'm so happy to be visiting with you again. Today, I have a wonderful guest, and it is partially related to a past episode. We had our friend Kylie Alstrip from The Feminine Outdoors on the show, but also it's related to the website. Over there, I do have a tab with recipes, and a lot of it is field to fork or field to table recipes. So a lot of wild game cooking, but then there's also some of the accompaniments that go with that, the tortillas or a side dish or casserole or something like that, that maybe are some of my family's favorites. But today, who I have is a wonderful guest that is a wild game chef. And her name is Rikki Folger, and she is the chef and the owner of Wild and Foraged. And I met her years ago at the Professional Outdoor Media Association's summer conference, and she was pretty new to the outdoor industry, and it was exciting to see her. She was learning how to hunt, but she was a wild game chef. And this is something, if you travel around the world to other countries, there is wild game on their menus. And why is it that in the United States, we don't see it so much around here anymore? Even in some of the more high-end restaurants, you might find elk or bison, stuff like that. But I know in Europe, when I went to Finland, there's pheasant and hare and boar, and those are just on the menus. So it's pretty cool. But I wanted to share Rikki and her story with you because I just wanted to catch up with her, and I know that you could learn from her. So we're going to learn from her together instead of me just keeping it all to myself. So stay tuned for the show.
This summer, whether at the range or in the field, WSI Sports Hypertech Bamboo Tanks, tees, and leggings will have you covered. Visit WSISports.com to support the show and use the affiliate code MACO10 for 10% off your purchase. All products are proudly made in the USA. WSI is bringing back pride in American-made clothing. Again, that code is MACO10 for 10% off your order at WSISports.com.
Before we get going, I wanted to remind you that as we're chatting, if there is anything that we discuss that requires an important link, check the show notes or head over to the website at miaanstine.com, and we will have stuff linked over there for your information and resources. And if you want to reach out, you can email us. The email address is contact@miaanstine.com, and I do monitor those, and I'll get back to you if you need anything. But without further ado, Rikki, I'm so happy to have a chance to chat and catch up with you today. I've been keeping an eye on your social media, and I've just been super excited about your growth and where you're going. And so if you would, I wanted to share your evolution with my listeners because I just kind of wanted to catch up with you. And I was like, why just be selfish and keep it to me? Like, let's share it with everybody. So would you introduce yourself to my listeners and just kind of let them know who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Rikki Folger. I am a wild game chef based in Colorado. I own Wild and Foraged, which is a great place if you wanted wild game recipes, a place to, find your next hunting trip possibility. But yeah, I mean, I've done a lot in the past 2 years. It's kind of incredible. I think it really speaks to if you have a dream, you kind of have to shout it out to the world or else it won't come true. And I just feel so fortunate to meet you and so many other hunters across Colorado and even, across the United States to really make my dream a reality. So it's been amazing.
Very cool. I was trying to remember, we met at one of the POMA conferences. Where was that though?
In Tennessee, in Franklin.
Okay. Yeah. I was trying to remember which one. They all kind of blend after a while. But in Franklin, Tennessee, you and a couple other newer hunters came, and it was so fun to meet you guys. And as I said, I've been watching your social media, and you're doing some exciting things. So I want to learn more about that. But are you still involved with POMA, or did you kind of go to the one event and done? Or
I'm involved. I was planning on going this past year, but right now I'm managing a hunting lodge in the Flat Tops Wilderness in Colorado, and our open date was just cutting it a little bit too close to go to POMA. So I'm hoping to go this next year. I mean, that is just an amazing organization and amazing people, and I definitely would like to go to another event.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I didn't make it this year either. We had stuff. It's a tough time of year, and this coming year they moved it to May in 2024, and I'm not sure if that's going to be better or worse for us. I don't know. Well, I'll see. It is before the summer openings, and so I'm like, okay, maybe it'll be good. Yeah. And so when I had met you there in Franklin, you were kind of just getting started hunting. And how did your hunting adventures go when you got started?
Oh, I mean, I think when I had met you, I had gone turkey hunting, frog hunting, or frog gigging, and we tried to go boar hunting, but the pigs just weren't cooperating. But after POMA, I got linked up with a gentleman who works with backcountry hunters and anglers. His name's Ryan McSparron. And he was like, hey, I'm thinking of purchasing a hunting lodge. Would you be interested in cooking? And I was like, oh my gosh, that is fantastic. How could I ever say no to that? And so since then, I go on a lot of hunting excursions, and I do have tags, but it's more work-based up here than actual hunting. So I've been learning a ton, and I'm excited. I have a mule deer tag for a second rifle this year, so I'm excited to go out and see exactly what I've learned and put it into practice and all that. But this year, I'm now managing the lodge with 2 other people, so it's a huge step up for me and just exactly where I would like to be. So I feel very grateful.
Yeah, and so with this lodge, you do summer camps and hunting up there?
So summer is dedicated towards fly fishing. So we have fly fishing wilderness camps. We can do guided camps from the lodge. And this summer was just incredibly busy. It's such a beautiful place to fish. And then for the hunting season, we focus primarily on elk. So archery, muzzleloader, and then first and second rifle. We generally will close after second rifle because the snow gets too bad. We'll get trapped in here. But we also are able to get bear tags, mule deer tags, small game tags as well.
I think it's so neat that you're out where you're at, and it's a perfect place to learn. And I'm sure you're meeting all kinds of really neat people. With that lodge there, what are some of your favorite things are you just in the lodge managing it and cooking, or do you get to go out and have adventures as well?
A little bit of both. I have a dedicated month of cooking. So this past year was August. So it is a lot of lodge time. But after that, you can go exploring. There's a lot of work to be done in the backcountry, setting up camps and clearing trails and just exploring, really. We have so much wilderness area out here. It never gets old, and the views are absolutely stunning.
Yeah, you're in God's country every day.
Yeah, it's incredible. And we're about 38 miles from Highway 70, but that 38 miles takes 3 hours to drive. So we're really, really remote, running off of a generator and making grocery trips every week. And it's great just to be out here in the middle of nowhere.
I love that. And I know some people may or may not, but I think it's great. And when I'm thinking of this, you and this travel time, I want to kind of back up to you being a chef. Like, how did you become a chef, and how did you choose wild game?
Yeah, I think it kind of went hand in hand. I became a chef first, I guess I would say, but quickly fell into the rabbit hole of where does my food come from? Is it organic? Is it, pasture raised or grass fed and all these things, and quickly found myself into the hunting world of like, hey, you can actually go out and get your own food, whether that's hunting or foraging, prepare it and make a delicious meal, and it's all natural. And I just really fell in love with that concept and being self-sufficient. and really working hard for your food. It definitely gives you a greater appreciation for what's on your plate. So you're not just wasting it, or, you have an attachment to it.
You definitely do.
It's also a great, way to tell your story and, your hunting stories. This deer was on this ridge and yada, yada. And it's just a great way to get everyone involved in the food that they're eating as well.
I love that. When you first started, did you go to culinary school or did you just work in the food industry and become a chef?
I did a little of both. So I started working in restaurants when I was 15, but all on the front of house side. And I loved it. I love hospitality. I love the wine side of things. I'm a sommelier as well. And just after, 10 years, 15 years of doing that, it gets really old. And so I actually went to culinary school to get a degree in nutrition. And for this particular school, Johnson and Wales, they required 2 years of culinary and then 2 years of the science part of the nutrition degree. And 2 years in, they had closed my campus. And I was already pretty well established in Denver, and I didn't want to move and all that. So I got my culinary degree after, working in restaurants for a while. But still learned a lot, and it was a great experience. And it's just not what I thought would happen, which is generally how life goes. It's worked out for the best in so many ways.
It sounds like a really interesting journey, and I'm sure that you've experienced a lot along the way. When you're cooking wild game, and so part of why I wanted to have you on is I love talking to chefs because I kind of cook people ask me for recipes, and I have recipes on my website. But when I cook, I just throw a little of this and a little of that, and then depending on how I feel or what I'm cooking. So as a chef, how do you suggest people cook their wild game, or what spices should they use? Do you have any tips or recommendations?
Yeah, wild game is a whole different beast, pun intended, I guess. Generally very lean. Cooking times are different. It really depends on, what you're cooking. You're not going to get that nice, fatty, juicy steak that you're used to, from a cow. You want to sear it super hot on a cast iron pan, cook it to medium rare. But then you have muscle structures that are a lot tougher than they would be on a farm raised animal. Because these animals are working, they're living, they're running. Those leg muscles are super tough. So knowing which muscles to cook low and slow and which muscles to cook, hot, fast, which takes a little bit of reading, and if you have any questions or anyone has any questions, they're more than welcome to, write me on Instagram or however. But I always say in regards to spices is to cook with your heart. So I do the same thing, when I'm developing a recipe, I just add stuff in random amounts, but it just feels right to me. And then like, okay, that was, a half a teaspoon of this or a cup of this. And that's, cooking is really an art. It's a little bit of science, but more just, this sounds great, so I'm going to add this and this, or this is what I have. It's all about making those substitutions of ingredients. Being 3 hours away from town, I can't just quickly run to the store and grab something. So knowing what to utilize in place of other things is important as well.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite, when you have a camp or a group there, what are some of your go-to meals?
Oh, go-to meals. I've been doing a lot of stroganoff this year, which is, I prepare everything ahead of time, and I'll vacuum seal it into portioned bags, freeze it, and then when the hunters come, I'll send them off with a whole chest cooler full of pre-made meals. But that one's been really, really yummy. And I've done that both with wild game and beef. Definitely a lot of heartier dishes since it's hunting season, chilies, stews, anything that's warming and nutritious.
Very filling. I had recently asked on my Twitter what are some of the favorite meals for hunting season. And I actually, when I had asked, I wasn't specific. I just said meals or snacks. And I was thinking of maybe your dehydrated meals or something like that. But everybody said chilies and stroganoffs and just what you're saying. So.
Yeah. It's hunters want nutrient dense food. They want it warm and they want it immediately. Anything that's easy to heat up, as mess free as humanly possible. Really, that goes a long way, especially in the wilderness camps when water is hard to find and washing dishes isn't on the top of the priority list.
So when you're out there and you're preparing the meals, you said you guys use generators. So do they have a freezer system with the generators to keep everything cold until they're ready to use it?
At the lodge, we have a generator. In the wilderness camps, we rely on coolers. So everything is frozen solid when I send them out with the coolers, and it's generally cool enough to where they don't, thaw out quickly. So the instructions for them is to, take the vacuum seal bag, boil some water, and just place the whole bag into the pot of boiling water and warm it up that way.
Are you heading out to any of the wilderness camps, and are you cooking at camp?
I am not this year. I need to stay at the lodge and just make sure, people are happy and phones are getting answered and stuff like that. Our other two managers will be busy packing in and out hunters, packing out bowls, hopefully. So I'll be at the lodge this year, but we have a couple of awesome guides that know how to cook that are going out.
When they are coming back with a harvest with an elk or something like that, do you have any of them ask you to cook anything up for them right then?
Yeah. Last year I had a hunter, there's a bee, a hunter bring a backstrap and heart in. And we prepared that, and it was just that was the first time I'd ever had elk heart, and it's now my new favorite thing to cook. And then this year we had a hunter donate one of their backstraps. So I prepared that for them. I did a blackberry balsamic sauce on top of it, and it was just amazing. And then 2 hunters donated their hearts for everyone to eat and try. So I did tacos with the hearts.
And so how are you seasoning or preparing the hearts?
So I clean it up. You get all those veins and everything out and slice it up. So it's pretty thin. And then I marinate it for 24 hours. So before I marinate it, I get a meat mallet and just kind of pound it out a little bit to tenderize it. And then this year I did a little bit of vinegar, olive oil, and then Harvesting Nature has a seasoning line that I just absolutely love. It's low sodium, super delicious. So I actually use their small game blend for the heart. And that has a lot of cumin and oregano and really kind of, taco-y flavors to it. And seasoned it well with that and let it sit overnight. And then I did breakfast tacos with that. So the next morning, I took it out and seared it on the grill to medium rare and sliced it up. And it was incredible. The really, really impressed. And he's like, I've always had heart that's chewy and not that good, but this is actually really yummy. So when he harvested his elk, he had left his heart for me. And I thought that was very sweet.
Well, and I was so excited. I saw you share that, and I've been wanting to figure out how you had done it because you were excited about it. But I've been trying to perfect a heart recipe because I had some when I was in Finland, and they smoked it, and they had it like on a charcuterie with all kinds of different, stuff like that. And it was super thin sliced also. And I've never been able to replicate what they did. But what you do sounds like my mouth is watering because I'm like, oh my God, that sounds so good.
Well, and it's easy because I'm not going to say all, because I certainly don't have a barbecue at home, but most people are able to barbecue stuff. And I think next year I'm going to buy a smoker and a little bit, fancier gadgets so I can prepare things like that. I mean, that charcuterie just sounds absolutely amazing. And I would love to try to cook that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Maybe you could come up with something. As I said, I don't know. I've even looked on like European websites to try to find a recipe, but nothing tastes the same. And I'm sure it's just in the seasoning. But when I've made it, it's like you said, you have to cut all the veins out, and it's definitely a big process. It's tasted okay, but I like your idea of the vinegar and oil. Sounds really good.
And tacos are also something that's familiar to people. So I think I've had more luck with people being willing to try things in dishes that are familiar to them. Like, oh, I know what this is going to taste like, and not absolutely bombard them with surprises. I will do that to some people because I know they can handle it. But most people, when I'm introducing them to wild game, I'll start with something familiar.
And so what's one of your best surprises that you've done in the past?
Oh, I think my Bobcat dish was definitely a surprise.
What'd you make?
Everyone who ate it knew they were eating it. I did a Thai red curry with it because the meat is a little on the sweeter side, which can be a little, I don't want to say off-putting, but definitely interesting to people who have never had, I had never had Bobcat before either. But the coconut milk went really, really well with the dish, and just a little bit of spice to it. And I mean, it was really good.
And is that recipe on your website?
It will be. I need to
put
I've
it
just
up
been
there.
so busy doing stuff that I have like a laundry list of recipes that I need to update. So it'll be updated by the end of the week.
I understand. I have a recipe on my site for Bobcat chorizo. So I made, and it's really good. I love it. I don't shoot that many bobcats, but
Right. Did they add any fat to the chorizo? Do you know? I guess I
didn't.
Look it up.
No, I didn't.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
so intriguing.
It's
I'll have
good.
to check that out.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to that, and then when you get yours on your site, you send it to me. So when they all tasted that, and you said they already knew they were getting something exotic, and what were some of the comments you received?
A few people really, really enjoyed it, but I think the people that did not quite enjoy it, it was more of a mental thing, because it is definitely, exotic for us to eat bobcat, I would think, but it's still incredibly delicious and very nutritious. And if you're hunting these animals, the meat shouldn't go to waste. And I think having these recipes available for people to use is really important. So I think if you can get over the mental part that it's a bobcat, then you'll be golden.
Yeah. And any other kind of unusual things that you've sprung on people?
Trying to think. I think that was the most exotic.
Yeah.
That and the heart. I have people send me things all the time. Like, here, I shot this and I don't know how to cook it, so here you go. So I'll have some interesting recipes in the works probably next year.
Yeah.
Which is so soon from now.
It really is. I was telling someone the other day, like, it's almost the first New Year's, and they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
Time flies when you're having fun. So when you were at the POMA conference, you were there with a couple other people, and I'm trying to think of who all was there, but Kang, have you been in touch with Kang at all?
We talk periodically. He's into some really awesome projects right now, so he's really, really busy, but he looks like he's really doing well for himself.
Yeah. And then any of the other ones you stay in touch with, or you're kind of up in the wilderness and
yeah, it's just, we're all so busy that we'll check in periodically, but yeah, we don't chat every day, unfortunately.
Not every day. Yeah. Because I think, did you and Kang went on that turkey hunt together, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. What a great beginning.
Oh, and he's such a character. And Kevin, too. They were both just so willing to teach me, and, being the newbie and a girl, they were really, really awesome. And I would definitely go hunting with them anytime.
Yeah. And so for the listeners, Kang has been on a past episode of the Mac Outdoors show, and I'll link that in the show notes. And then Kevin that she referred to is Kevin Paulson, and he manages huntinglife.com and a few other publications. And he also used to be an outfitter like me. And so it's fun to watch what you're doing and see you kind of coming up in the ranks and living the life out in the wilderness. It's just wonderful. How do you like being around? I saw you shared the other day horses. How do you like being around the horses?
I love it. I had never really been around horses at all, ever. And here you just kind of get thrown into it. And it's been really, really fun. It's amazing how much ground you can cover on a horse or a mule. And this being a wilderness area, there's no driving or automobiles anywhere. So they're a really necessary part of what we do. And it's just been awesome to learn. And I think I really like them now.
That's perfect. Do you get to ride the same one every time, or is it kind of like the whole string and you just get what's left?
We definitely have horses that are our client horses. And it just depends on, who we've used recently, who needs to be ridden and all that. But I have a couple that I switch between. So, I mean, they're all just fantastic. They all have, just insane personalities too. So it keeps, when you're riding for 3 hours, it keeps things a lot of fun. So,
yeah. So generally when you're coming up to the lodge, are you driving to the lodge or are you taking the horses to the lodge?
Driving.
Okay.
So we have a resort permit. And so this road that is in here, it's been here forever. So we're kind of grandfathered in to that. So cars are allowed up until this point. But you definitely need 4-wheel drive, high clearance vehicle. The road is no joke. So, but in the beginning of the season and at the end of the season, we will ride our horses out 8 miles to where we keep our horse trailer, because getting a horse trailer back here is, people do it, but they're insane. We would just rather not risk it. So we ride them out.
Yeah. It's a lot of wear and tear on your trailers too. Sure. Bent axles and flat tires and all that kind of fun stuff. I know you have hunters coming and you're going to be managing that and the camp and cooking and all of that. Do you have any personal adventures coming up?
My mule deer tag for second rifle. But after that, not super scheduled. I'm going to go visit my dad in Florida and kind of warm up a bit for the Thanksgiving week or so. But then after that, just booking some catering gigs and traveling across them. I actually work for the American Warrior Association. So I cook for veterans retreats, which has been also really cool. Completely different world, but still an amazing time. So I'll be traveling around doing that as well.
And do you do that in Colorado or is that nationwide?
Nationwide. So they have different retreats in different states. They do actually have a lodge here in Colorado that hopefully I'll get to cook at this year. It's just a lot easier than flying somewhere. I mean, I've been to Idaho, Georgia. They have them all over.
Yeah, that's so great. It's such a neat thing that you get to do that. And the different people that you're meeting and interacting with, I think is just fabulous. When you're looking forward at your mule deer hunt, are you going to try to hunt solo and see how your skills have developed, or do you have a buddy to go with? What's up?
Everyone else is busy, so I think I have to go by myself. But we'll see. I mean, I think I would like to spend the first couple of days by myself, and I know kind of where I would like to be hunting and stuff like that. So we'll see how the first couple of days go, and I'll see if I can rope someone into coming with me if I need some help.
Yeah. And it's kind of fun to hunt by yourself because there's some kind of independence and self-sufficiency that you talked about, the reward of hunting and like gathering your own food. And when you do it solo, it just makes it that much better. It's kind of a good connection with yourself when you're doing that as well. So do you have a favorite gear that you use up there? I mean, I know you're not hunting all the time, but what do you use while you're up there to stay warm?
Oh, First Light. I think I've bought almost their entire women's line. Really impressed with the quality, and the camouflage is great too. So I use First Light, and then I just bought a QU backpack. So it's my first pack frame backpack system, and I'm absolutely in love. I have always hated backpacking, like hiking that way, just because my back always hurts, and this backpack just feels like air almost. So I'm really impressed with that. I'm excited to use that more.
Perfect. I hope you get to fill it up.
Yeah, me
too. So if you're successful in your deer hunt, do you have some recipes planned for a deer, or are you just going to use some of the ones you've been using?
Oh, I have so many recipes planned. I try not to get ahead of myself. I'm like, oh, I want to try all these things. But I'm really intrigued about the shanks and the tougher pieces of meat. because backstrap, I mean, it's relatively easy to cook, and steaks are relatively easy to cook, but it's those tougher cuts that I find a lot of joy in preparing. So whether that's stews or braises or whatever, just playing around with those pieces.
Yeah. And do you butcher your own animals? Are you helping them butcher, or are they taking it to a processor and then you're cooking?
Our guides know we break it down into quarters to put them on the pack mules, but it's really client specific. Some people will take them in. Some people will want to do it themselves. I haven't done it for anyone. I mean, we're just so busy and clients are in and out and kitchen space is limited. So I have not.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that's going to be on your list someday. I know it just because I can tell your curiosity and stuff. And I think to me, it's another rewarding part of the whole piece, you know, coming together. But I was curious because I'm wondering what cuts you would make if you processed your own animal, because I have my favorites. Like, I want this, and I take it to a processor and they're like, no, you don't want that. I'm like, yes, I do.
Yeah. And I've had game gifted to me. It's cut in the most interesting way. Like, it's a perfectly good steak, but it's cut into 1-inch strips. And I'm like, why? Why would they do that?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if I get my own gear, I'll definitely process it myself and go through that experience. But I also think, I mean, having a relationship with a processor is really important too, so that they do give you the cuts that they want or that you want, and don't think that you're crazy for asking for it. So.
Exactly. It is so important. Well, I know that you're up there and you have work to do, and I appreciate you taking some time to visit with me. And I'm glad that you had enough of a signal that we could visit. If you're ever down in the southwest corner of the state, reach out and I'll take you to dinner, or you can come and ride our horses or something like that.
I would love definitely. I'll definitely do that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for visiting. For the listeners, will you go ahead and let them know where they can find you and how they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, my website is wildandforage.com. My Instagram handle is @wild_foraged_. Sorry, I know that's annoying. And then I'm on TikTok @wildandforaged.
Perfect. I was going to ask you about TikTok because that's where I've been watching you.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out TikTok. I don't know how I like it, but
Same.
It's fun to watch other people's videos, and just learning how to create my own has been interesting.
Yeah,
So.
It definitely sucks you into the viewer part. And then I've gotten it. I can kind of do the editing part now, but it's that's time consuming too. Oh, very good. Well, as I said, thank you for taking some time to visit, and I appreciate it so much. I look forward to watching your adventures again this fall and seeing what fun you're having.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Well, I hope you all really enjoyed that little chat with Rikki, and I hope that you learned a little bit about maybe cooking or some ideas about when you want to head out and do some fall hunting. I think she has some great stuff going on up there in the northern part of the state, or at least north of me, depending where you are in the country or in Colorado. As we're listening to that, she did mention First Light gear. I will include a link in the show notes to a gear list for women's hunting gear from First Light. It is a link to my Amazon storefront, and there's no extra charge to you. However, I do make a small commission if you buy anything, and it does help support the podcast because there is a little bit of background funding that goes on to producing a podcast. I also wanted to let you know that you can follow her as her Instagram handle. She did mention it's a little complicated. It is in the show notes. You can find it there. And I will have it on the Mac Outdoors Instagram, so you can find it over there as well. And we'll be talking to you next time. If there's something that you want to learn about, give us a shout. The email address is contact@miaanstine.com, or you can message on social media, Mia Anstine or Mac Outdoors, and I will be happy to try to accommodate what you're looking for. Until next time, have a great one.
Hey, this is Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, host of the Armed Lutheran Radio Podcast, reminding you that the podcast you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out all the great content at selfdefenseradio.net.